Good morning and welcome to a funky edition of XFeed. Today we're actually not going to be going over the XFeed too much, but still wanting to present you with a kind of different show as we're going to be going through the history of NFTs that I've bought. Now, if you're clicking on this video and this is the first time that you are seeing me, we cover NFTs as a whole. So if you're like, what a nerd and a loser, true, but stick around, you might learn something, and this is really for anybody that's kind of in the space, whether you've been in for a while, you might recognize some of these things, but also we'll try to talk about what has worked, what hasn't worked, and kind of just like the story or narrative behind them at the time, and hopefully I remember all of this, but we went through almost as many tabs as we do for XFeed. So first off here is the Keep Watch crew. So this was something that was kind of interesting, is I think this was maybe one of the first collections that ever reached out and was like, hey, we want to send you a care package. And I was like, okay, cool. So they sent this thing, you got this NFT with it. Obviously it didn't really end up going anywhere, but the Keep Watch crew is a collection of 1,269 one-of-a-kind Keep Watch eyeball NFTs. Each one is unique, and as the name states, collecting the project makes you a member of the Keep Watch crew. Apart from having your very own individual Keep Watch, you'll be part of the next chapter of Mishka, a voyage into Mishkaverse, and all the perks that come with membership. So this was basically something for an artist in Mishka. It didn't end up taking off. I still think like the concept of it's like pretty all right. I think we've seen ones that are somewhat similar in that regard, but this is a collection obviously that's kind of been put on pause indefinitely, but one of the earlier ones that I was involved with. Okay, so Zunks is a funky one. So if you're familiar with Azuki, basically the story behind that is one of like the head devs for it, or team members, Zagabond, he was involved, or he was ousted in being a part of a couple different collections that launched before and were claimed to be rugs, right? And again, we use that term kind of loosely because everybody says it, but in this instance, basically what happened was you were able to mint a Zunk, and the way that it worked was almost like a machine decider. I don't want to use like, I guess like a slot machine would be probably the easiest one, where it would spin around, it would pick a head, pick a hair, pick a face, pick a skin color type deal. And it was kind of like this experience when you minted it. And that's one thing that we don't really ever see nowadays, is the minting experience. If you think of creatures from Danny Cole, that was where like it was an experience where you were able to walk around, you had to do this thing to be able to mint it. For these ones, that was kind of what it was, and they went kind of crazy for a point. As you can see, over 2,000 volume. Is kind of nuts, but as the floor here, obviously it's at 0.101. It's another punk derivative, but this is one of the collections that ended up getting Zagabond kind of a bad rap at the time. I feel like a lot of that stuff's no longer the case, but yeah, it was basically like a crypto punk derivative minter that I think it did go up like decently in value, right? Yeah, like I mean 0.118. Yeah, like I mean this is 0.1 and higher. So obviously it's down, but still it's a punk derivative. And when everybody says, derivatives go to zero, well, not entirely zero, but close. Okay, so Zedrun, this was all the mania. When we go back to the early days of Bored Ape Yacht Club and we were looking at all of the excitement, there was very few collections that were out there, and even fewer that actually had some kind of working product that was more than just visual art, and Zedrun was one of them. And if you don't know what Zedrun is, basically you were able to buy a horse from the marketplace, or try to get somebody to breed one for you, and you could pay a relatively small fee, and if you came in the top 3, you got a payout. And this was like early days where things were done in wheat, the gas fees were awful, there was transfers of things, it was all over the place. Yo, Successful King, how are you? Good morning. Didn't they have a race game? Yeah. So basically the thing with this is they highlighted and kind of amped up, like, this is going to be a metaverse play, we're going to have in arena signs that you're going to be able to advertise, it's going to be huge. We bought this massive a plot in Sandbox, and it was one of the only collections out there that did have a fair amount of people that were playing every day. There was communities formed around it, there was live streams about it. It was really all that. And again, 42,000 volume in ETH. This, I think one of the problems with it is that, like, the breeding could just like keep happening. Obviously you had to pay for it, but there was a lot of things that just didn't end up being worth it. However, you did see premiums going on breeding pairs that were from very good racers or potential premium names. And I mean, if you're talking about like the top 10 racers and one of your kid horses or whatever got a or like had that as a parent, even if it was like the 10,000th breed, people were wanting this to still pay a premium for that. It's kind of fallen to the wayside in terms of like notoriety, but they did do an extra token launch a couple months back that kind of launched, went nowhere for like a day, then mooned, and then came back down, and I think it's just kind of floated. But yeah, Zedrun was one of the early ones here that were crazy. Okay, so yesterday we talked about the AI artist craze and what people are going to care about, if they're going to care about that aspect at all. And one of the ones that I saw on my timeline a while ago with this articulations of identity. And when it came up on my timeline, I was like, oh, you know, like these art pieces look kind of cool. But then when you ended up minting it, you know, it looks high fidelity from like afar, but then when you zoomed in, I might look like a fish here if this doesn't look as I remember, but it didn't have the same umph. It didn't have, you know, the definition, and you could really tell that it was AI art. And I think maybe this doesn't do like a great job of it, but you can see that it's kind of like, okay, it's a really nice image, but is it crisp lines, if you will? Not really. So anyway, this came out and I was like, damn, I don't know. I was excited about it and then not really. Just kind of a random collection that involved AI art. Nothing too crazy about it, but it did have kind of an happening all over my timeline for a day. Okay, Goats for Life is a part of Look Labs. Look Labs was something that I was super heavy on, and then basically what happened with it is one of the founders, who was from Germany, called Green Genie, just took all the funding. He screwed over the entire community, people that were a part of it. Beanie's got a bad rap for this one, and it really wasn't his fault. It was this guy that sold all these things, thought about yada yada, brought in other people, and then literally kicked them all out and then disappeared. I think there's still people that are trying to take legal action a part of them, but this was one of like the collections that, you know, they said, hey, we're building these goat games on top of just several other games, and nothing ended up coming to fruition. Okay, so Icon was another one that I was hyped up on, and then it feels like the team kind of completely fumbled what was going on with this. So Icon is a cluster of very, very big names from people that have worked on Xbox, artists from Marvel, engineer people that are top of the line. You look at their, you know, hackathon wins, the projects they've been involved in, you just be like, damn, that is the team that could not fail. And then we're at 1,300 ETH traded volume. We're at less than 0.1 to buy one of these things now, and it didn't seem like they kind of went really anywhere with it. I think the idea was that it was going to be a comic, but now, you know, they try to go within the Web3 realm, and then I'm pretty sure I saw them the other day posting about how you could go and use their what's the stupid name of it? I forget. Like a not a Patreon, but a Kickstarter type deal. And so I'm like, okay, these guys are kind of like shifting what they're going to and not necessarily trying to go within this Web3 realm, even though hyping it up. But this was something at the time that I thought was amazing. And when you're looking at the demand for it at a point, I mean, 0.12, 0.08, and it's kind of fizzled out since then. But, you know, I was able to sell one of the one-of-ones for that. So if you ever get kind of weird vibes, if things not moving the way you think, oh, yeah, I'll be aware. Okay, Stoner Cats. Most people should know what Stoner Cats is. If not, it is a collection that was done by Aston Kutcher, Mila Kunis, Vitalik Buterin, you know, Mr. Ethereum. He was one of the voice actors within this. And I have a recording, or part of a recording, on my YouTube channel. If you just type in Stoner Cat Schillerverse, you'll be able to find that, where we go over the history of it. And they say some crazy things. The team that were a part of it saying F Hollywood, there's this, that, like talking about price before the mint and all these just outrageous things. But it's a super short TV series where Gary Vee also makes an appearance as a raccoon in it. And it's about stoner cats. And so the SEC ended up charging them for, I don't really know why, like they created the show and then they didn't continue to build upon it. And so I guess that was enough grounds for them to do something. However, I do believe, like, generally speaking, Stoner Cats had offered more. But the more egregious component of it is that they were charging like $500 to like $800 on the initial mint with it. And there was like nothing for it except for the access to watch, these 5 episodes, which at the time there was only the trailer out, and then it was kind of a slow roll for everything else. And I think you might be able to buy these and watch it still, but upwards of 8,000 ETH volume. This one, the gas wars, the demand for it was really crazy. One of the early celebrity involvements within the space. Okay, so Pixel Vault IRL. Yo, I went to Yankee Stadium. Can you imagine that? So at NFT NYC a few years ago, there was a lot of teams that were kind of doing these parties, right? I remember the Vogue. I think Doodles had a thing, and there was several other collections out there. Jenkins the Valet, and it was go to a restaurant, you get to potentially meet the founders. Obviously, there's food. Usually, you get a few drink tickets, yada yada. But Pixel Vault went a different direction with that, and they offered these IRL events. One from a Chinatown crawl to having this lunch where I think they announced something within the founders DAO. If I remember, they had a pizza party one, which was kind of cool, and then a bus tour of going to the MLB headquarters in New York, and then going to the Yankees game, which was really really cool. And they ended up paying for our food there, and so that was an awesome experience. I think Aaron Judge hit like a walk off. I don't know if it was home run or like double triple type deal, but it was a really fun experience, and I thought that it was cool. I think a lot of people were unhappy, I guess, with the fact that they chose to do those smaller events where a lot of people wanted to take advantage of doing something within Pixel Vault, and I actually had to buy one of these, so it was like relatively expensive to do that, but they airdropped it randomly to holders at the time. Okay, lambdas. 8,500 digital lambs wandering the grasslands of the Ethereum blockchain. If they ever have these kind of like descriptions of wandering the blockchain, they're a part of it, they're swimming the block, just absolutely run away. Generated from 350,000 possible trait combinations with an abundance variety of faces, outfits, and colors. Learn more about our lambs at lambdas.com. So I don't know if the site is even up anymore. I guess it is. So a digital art collectible with legacy. I think these guys were originally saying that they were going to do a metaverse. They were going to have all these other things. There was people within the Discord when I ended up buying a couple of these because they were like dirt cheap, like they were here. And they were like, okay, there's been absolutely zero developments. And then, I'm sitting there like, oh, like I bought it. Like, you got to give the team time. And then like, yeah, absolutely nothing's happened with it. So there's that. So golems, this one's kind of funky because you guys are looking at it almost every single day within here. You might not know it, but this is this collection. The same guys that created this also created the Bored Ape displays behind me, and this is actually like out of a Canadian company near Toronto, and they just did different NFT physical toys, I guess would be the correct one, but it was all like 3D printed, hand painted, yada yada yada. I haven't heard from them in a little bit, so I don't know if they still are rocking and rolling with doing this, but I think at a point they were supposed to be partnered with several of the NFT collections that are out there that you would know, right? Like not anything that's like small per se, but I haven't really seen any developments on that front. So Monkey Bet DAO. This is another one that had a lot of hype, almost 5,000 ETH volume. Basically, they were trying to be a decentralized casino before, the whole rollbit type stuff and gambling as a whole within crypto really took off. Things didn't work. The Beanie FUD went crazy. I think it's like one guy working on it. I saw a Beanie tweet the other day that they were still doing something with it, but again, they were trying to use the excitement that were around apes at the time to really drive it, and clearly that worked with $5,000 of ETH volume. But you can see here where these things used to be going for 0.27, 0.06. There was a little spike on there, but then they're basically less than like $5 now. So again, guess they're working on it, but we shall see. Okay, Plank Tunes. If you're on the Shillerverse Discord, you'll know this one. These guys announced that they were, I don't know if it was like partnered with Coolmans or potentially partnered with Doodles, but there was like this quick narrative at a point where this collection was a part of something a lot bigger. Clearly, that's not the case. But you know, it's one of those cute IPs that everybody keeps talking majorly bullish on and saying this is going to be the next wave, et cetera, et cetera. You say, oh, okay, there might be a partnership with this, and then you convince yourself to, you know, spend a couple $100 on something that ends up going absolutely nowhere. And really, that's the theme with this, right? Like we always talk openly about things. Why I'm trying to say, hey, focus on stuff that you know, actually want. Do you want something that has a yield, that has the funding, that's building something bigger? Do you want something that's art, or are you falling for a certain narrative that might not really be there at all? And the other day, we did highlight how we had before, when collections were unrevealed, there was these tools that you could use to highlight ones that were rarer before the average market buyer found it. So all access pass for fresh drops was one of those ones. Yo, Bruno, what's going on? 100%. I don't know if you're here when we talked about that a second ago. But this is one of those things that, you know, it doesn't need to be a thing anymore, because for the NFT space, nobody really does these unrevealed assets, and the technology's gotten better where you don't need these like advantageous tools. There was some we talked about the other day that I kind of had the same assumption that, okay, like this is something that can be done right now, but over time as things evolve, it might not be used as much. But I can't remember it. If you were at that stream, feel free to let me know. Okay, Lucky Zeros. This is something that I interviewed the founder. I thought this was going to be great. 2,000 Ethereum volume, 0.02 ETH. They're like super connected in Hollywood, talked a huge game, all this kind of stuff, relatively decent 3D characters, and I've just not really seen anything for it. Join the brave and embark on untold adventures across the metaverse with Lucky Zero at your side. Soulbound with one of 3,333 available before they're all gone and you're all alone forever. Each NFT has unique traits, characters, and dispositions, backed by strong community accepting of all shapes, sizes, and cultures. That I actually haven't seen before, where they put like a disclaimer kind of at the end of like who should be a part of the community, or them being like more welcome in that regard. But yeah, haven't seen a whole lot from them. Again, they're supposed to be this animation studio, super connected to Hollywood, yada, 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 yada. Okay. Another thing, they got super hype. The cabal, if you will. So this was this was a combination between Adidas when they got into the space, Bored Apes, G Money, and Pixel Vault. So this was a whomper, because they did digital. Sorry, I shouldn't say digital clothing, but they did clothing. Yo, Lolo, how are you? What's up? And basically, you had like these toy boxes, but you can see this outfit where it's the this Adidas tracksuit. You actually were able to get it. Now, there was a lot of FUD around it because it took so long for those pieces to go out. There was like an orange cap that was a part of the G Money one. What you're seeing here, a contract address on this hoodie as well. And that was a part of it. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. And that's one of the characters, Courtney, within the Pixel Vault series. But you had to like burn these things to go to the next stages of it. 50,000 ETH volume. Now, I don't really know what the point of these are, apart from like the claim, but still early days, this was something that people were extremely excited about, and you might have those or have bought them. I'm curious if you enjoy wearing the clothing. So kind of on the same trail, one of the things within Pixel Vault and a fair amount of collections, like G Money, I think was a part of this too, was this Wag Me United. And so basically what happened was they were saying, hey, let's go buy an English football team. And so they got like a Division 3 or Division 2 team. It was like 2 or 3 down from like where the Premier League is, and they ended up buying it for like $2 million. It's a smaller town called Crawley FC, and they use these NFTs to be able to help raise more money, or I don't know if raise more money is the right term, but like, expand the fan base. They were going to have these streams that were available, and it's going to be the internet's team. The concept was incredible. However, it really didn't take up much. I don't think that like the way to watch the games was really like pushed out there the correct way. You got like a team scarf and jersey. There was a lot of hate, FUD, and just outrage from the Crawley town people themselves being involved with like crypto and NFT. Obviously, the whole like normie regime around that, and then the team ended up not being very good for that like year and a half. I think they're pretty good now. But I honestly have no idea what's going on in terms of like the NFT aspect, if they're still involving that, because again the concept was, okay, what position do we improve on, and then all the NFT holders vote. Do we get a striker, do we get a midfielder, a new goalie, or defenseman? In theory that sounds really cool, but also people are probably stupid at what positions they should actually improve upon. Okay, so Helix Founder Pass, this got a ton of hype a while ago. These were upwards of like 0.5 ETH, if I remember, upwards of 0.76 ETH, excuse me. But the Founder Pass is the best way to take full advantage of one of the most immersive metaverse experiences on the blockchain. The Founder Pass is 5,000 NFTs that grants 3-month early access to play Helix. Founder Pass holders will be entitled to exclusive airdrops, free land, exclusive designer clothes, supercars, and much more. Our EA Pass holders will become Helix's tightly knit alpha community and be a pinnacle of the development of our game. Holders have the opportunity to beta test and take part of the most elite blockchain gaming community. Okay, so everybody uses these elite, best, alpha, yada, yada, yada. Again, almost 5,000 ETH in volume. I saw this on my timeline the other day purely because I was going through who I was following and checking out tweets and being like, okay, wow, there's so many people that provide absolutely zero value through their tweets, which I'm really trying to do. I might be annoying as shit on your timeline with how much I've been posting, but the videos, everything else, I always try to, give a perspective or something that potentially adds value to you, or at least hopefully in my head it does, but sometimes it doesn't. Anyway, so I saw somebody when I was doing that was talking about Helix, and almost our entire timeline was talking about Helix. And I was like, I totally forgot this was a thing. I remember buying one of these forever ago. I don't hold it anymore, but still, I guess that's the thing. So when we're looking at metaverses, is that going to happen? We shall see. A lot of the garbage NFTs that you see on the timeline, I feel like are slightly better than what we saw previously, but sometimes not really. So Cope Bears was this thing that I don't know why. I don't know if it was a degen group or what. This all came on my timeline, over 1,000 ETH volume traded. It was something where you could like burn for these like Cope Bear tokens when the token narrative was running hot. Obviously, there was a lot of IP infringements within this, but of course, people did that. Ended up buying like a few of them. Completely stupid. Don't ever do it. You're looking now, and these things are like $10, and I probably paid like 70 or something. Again, we say, oh, it's a degen play or whatever, but I don't know. The older you get, you realize looking back that you're just stupid as shit, bro. You're just stupid as shit. So this was another one. I have a video where I go over all the NFTs that are horrible, and I used to follow that don't do anything anymore. Some of the things we've highlighted here are still working, doing whatever. Most of them aren't. This one's another one that wasn't, and we talked about it on that episode. But I'll give you the TLDR. This was a collection that people made the narrative that Larva Labs, the creator of CryptoPunks, created, went crazy, and it was when they were unrevealed. And I was able to sell this one for... well, the current value is 361, but on the day I sold it for like $200, right? So you're telling me whatever the hell this thing is, I got $200 for because of the narrative that this was a part of Larva Labs when it wasn't. But somebody that was holding the bag got that. So if you've seen the character Wizards of Soho on the timeline, I've thought some of his takes are super horrible. So I've hit the block button. I'm not going to lie, but I bought one of the alpha cards that was for this like e-liquid capital, where apparently there was all this alpha, how to properly trade. You were going to get all this stuff, and it was charging like 0.3 or something at the time for it. And wow, shocking. This is down to 0.01, completely wrecked, doesn't do anything, but of course still has a massive following, giving opinions on things, yada, 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 yada. Right? So be careful with these alpha groups. I think most of them are complete dog shit. You can find all the good stuff for free, and if it's behind a paywall, realize it's very potentially just simply a pump and dump, unless it's a very sustainable community that goes over things a little bit more with you. Genesis boxes, these, I don't know how this happened, but Doodles did like a reverse auction. They went upwards of like 0.5. These things are now at 0.031. Everyone that bought them completely wrecked. 7,000 volume. We're seeing Doodles do that watch companion launch. I'm just like, okay, charging people more for stuff when, you know, it was an egregious cash grab before for some of this stuff. Again, Doodles can pop off over like a long-term horizon, but I thought that this was like kind of crazy how they went over stuff. But of course, again, who's to blame? The people buying that, not the team, because they just, you know, spent a lot and they were able to get for that. And then same with these duplicators. They were like rather expensive for some of them. The duplicator is supercharged with endless utility. The duplicator's charges allows its doodly matter to utilize other NFTs to create new content. I don't really get what's going on with these, to be totally honest with you. But Doodles does have several different NFTs that are part of that. So, you know, as Doodles keeps going on here, do we see more of an uptick with them potentially? Okay. Another stupid ass collection here, just Mallards, 131 ETH volume. People tweet about it. You have that narrative. This is kind of exciting. It's a Mallard. It's just Mallards. Again, super dumb, but still at zero. Don't FOMO at the top. This one's really cool. Okay, let's show her your bias and shit. Okay, dude. Fair enough. But if you've ever seen the posters for Stranger Things that are done in kind of this fancy artistic way, the artist for that did this collection, and this is coming from the Royal Society of Players. And so these are just like character drawings from that artist. It's Billy Butcher, I believe, who's like really popular. But of course, because the collection isn't necessarily directly attached to a collection that everybody remembers, follows, and thinks super highly of, where, I mean, honestly, I think if this was like a part of something like Yuga per se, where that audience is there and they're like, damn, this is an artist, and that narrative adds to it, I think these would be in a lot higher demand. It's just an art piece, but still, if you're a Stranger Things fan, if you know Billy Butcher, I think it's kind of neat as a whole. Okay, non-fungible heroes. This one is kind of funky. So I interviewed the guy who is a part of this forever ago. His name's Cameron. He actually had his ape fished from him, which sucks. I think he got it back, but he was doing this show basically, and he says, oh, we're going to get all of Hollywood involved with creating these blockchain shows, yada, yada, yada. The non-fungible heroes are an NFT collection brought to you by Gen City Labs, team to educate, entertain, and inspire, spawn through community engagement. The creative universe extends beyond the imagination. And so I don't really know what is going on with this. Again, floor price is low. Does that mean things aren't happening? Not necessarily. But again, we've had these teams that say, hey, we're getting Hollywood. We're putting in all this capital and we have these sales. We have the team to do it. And then it feels like it's just like, okay, where is it? But I think this is one of the first renditions of it where there's like a newer variation. But this was the first go of it. But obviously people apparently don't care. Now, this one is going back. Back. Do you remember House of Kiba? This was another one. If you type in NFTs for Life, Schillerverse on YouTube, you'll find me and I interview the founder. So the founder was this guy named Kiba, and I don't know why, but he ended up quitting. And so this guy took over, super egotistical, horrible takes on the timeline, got fudded to all hell. But one of the first things that they did was offering these House of Kiba or Gen X characters, and it was this big thing. And again, if you look at my most popular videos, this was, I think, is one of like the top 10 ones of people that were like, oh, this is great, this is going to be exciting. Literally interviewed the team, and nothing has come of it. Why? I don't know. Again, they switched the CEO. Apparently, they got all these funding. They were supposed to launch like the Gutter Cat Gang high fidelity, not metaverse per se, but experience. And it looked amazing. They put out all these trailers and it was literally nothing. It was literally nothing. Again, Okay, so here's the NFT utility. Okay, here we go. Hold on. I didn't realize this was a thing. So 3D metaverse avatar built in Unreal Engine 5, your digital identity in House of Kiba's Pocket Dimension metaverse. Degenerina Battle card game. I remember they changed it to like a card game. The decentralized game built for Gen X collection featuring other NFT communities. The Gen X Metaverse Bar. Host your community and rock your avatar within the House of Kiba metaverse. And the Gen Zero's universe access, priority inclusion to the Gen Zero's lore universe, featuring the first live-action NFT series comics led by Alex Pobnick, who plays a Hawkeye, and Paul White, WWE's The Big Show. Oh, yeah! Oh my God, I forgot. So these guys launched a movie. Oh my God, I forgot. So again, they had the character that plays Hawkeye, if you've ever seen the movies, and then like literally The Big Show. Okay, it is the worst movie you've ever seen. And so, excuse me, I misspoke. I remember now. They did do something, but basically nothing came of this collection. House of Kiba just doesn't have really any interest anymore. People are very unhappy with it as a whole. But hopefully they still have the slide up because we might be able to see some of the stuff from it. Join the series, watch the series, bada. I don't want to play the stuff just because in case there's like copyright with it. But like, yeah. I mean, yeah, so the cast page doesn't even work. I don't know how they got the funding. I don't know how they got all that stuff pushed through and then following up with like literally nothing, but it happened. So Tom Sachs. Tom Sachs is a notable figure within the space. He's done different speaking appearances, but he's just like, you know, look up Tom Sachs, you'll find all the info on him. And he had a project that was all about buying these rocket pieces. And at a point, if you attended a certain thing, you got a POAP that was like a Tom Sachs journey something. And so you were able to end up claiming some of these rocks, which I ended up selling right away just because I knew that I wasn't going to build out these things. And I don't exactly know what's going on with these Tom Sachs things, to be totally honest with you. A 526th volume, and they're still getting some buys here and there. So this is something that's still, I think, going on. Oh yeah, here, the rocket test flight crew. Yeah, it was these things. And so they were basically for free that we got them. I don't remember exactly why. But yeah, so I don't know. But for the Rocket NFTs, just to highlight, these ones are at 0.45. We've seen the Tiffany & Co. branded ones go for like 100 ETH or something ridiculous. And then they actually had like a station where you went to like this big Central Park type area and then like fired off these rockets, and there was a lot of whales that were there, and it was kind of cool, but I feel like it was kind of like a, you know, a singular day type deal. Okay, VCon ticket. So Gary V, every year he tries to do something interesting with the tickets, and so within 2022 he had Snowfro do the art for this, hoping that that would enhance the value. And I think there was also supposed to be this collaboration with Snoop Dogg, but Snoop Dogg collabs with everything, and I don't know if there was anything that really came of it. However, these tickets, again, for some of the ones early on, ended up going for an absolute ton. But then when they revealed them, obviously people thought the artist was going to be bigger, but then it ends up being Snowfro, which is fine, right? And Snowfro is the guy that does Squiggles, which is a huge art block. He also, I think, created like art blocks as a whole. And so like it's a very big name in the space, but it's, I mean, like, I don't know. When you look at that, okay, like, yeah, are you buying that because of the artist? It's not really. Not really. Okay. A part of the anime craze that once were, here is 77-bit. And this is something that I bought. I somehow, okay, so I bought it for 2.5. Horrible decision. Sold it for 1.7. I'm pretty sure within like a day, because the reveal came out and I was like, these don't look like the way that they thought. This is supposed to be the alpha, guys. What's going on? You know what I mean? A nostalgic cyberpunk game universe where 7,777 characters come to life. 20,000 ETH volume, 0.28. If we go back to the history here, holy guacamole. Pre-mint hype, pre-reveal hype into absolute abyss. Into absolute abyss. And they don't even have their site linked on here. If actually, hold on, is there, if we go on their Twitter here, let's see if there's anything new. 83,000 followers. After the upcoming Rebirth event, this dude will look sicker than ever and still be with the deadliest melee warriors in the 7/7 bit. Okay, another collection that is just going to change the art. That's the first thing I read, the first thing that I'm assuming with that. Okay. We need a little more. We need a little more. Okay, Cool Man's Universe. This one got all the hype in the world because they were, the rumor, of course, was that they were partnered with Disney. So look at these characters. Think for a second. Do you think that this is Disney-worthy IP? Maybe. Okay, if they're going a certain way, like maybe a little bit of touch-ups, or flat out just no, not really. And so the rumor happened that these guys were partnered with Disney. I think the interest started spiking again after, well, actually, I mean, if you look here, things just got kind of crazy where they went up to average price of 2.5 ETH down to 0.039. 2.5 ETH to 0.039. Yo, I need to check here. Are you okay? Are you okay? Because holy Rackerville. Apparently, the other thing that was a problem with this is that they spent all the money on the NFT NYC party. Or something along those lines, where they literally blew like the entire budget on a party instead of like creating the stuff. And I mean, I think they're moved, but like in that closet, I have some of the old Cool Man's Universe merch. I have random merch of things sitting around, but still crazy for the times. Now, definitely one that's not necessarily, kind of labeled of things that aren't doing stuff anymore. This isn't one of them. However, Xcopy Max Payne. So TLDR, if you don't know, Xcopy, huge artist within the NFT world. And he launched this collection that was like 10,000 things of Max Payne, where it's just these. So right now it's at about 0.5 ETH. At the time that it came out, I want to say there was around an ETH, so it's down a little bit, but still. And 9,000 ETH volume traded. I think they've dropped some one-of-ones, or some of the rare ones, to people that hold these Max Payne, which, is Max Payne again for anybody that sold. He could have been a part of that. But the other aspect is when this collection came out and you look at the contract, or I don't know the right terminology for this, but it said that it was unrevealed. I don't know how the hell they tell that stuff, to be totally honest, but it was something that said like unrevealed. So the concept, in a way, that people thought was so bullish about this was, okay, like one, it's an Xcopy piece, but also, okay, like if this is just a placeholder and the Max Payne actually reveals to be all these kind of huge generative collection of some sort, holy shit, I want a piece of it. So we don't know what's going to happen exactly, but still kind of crazy that might reveal one day. But again, going back to the narratives. Okay. Oh, this one is a doozy. So Arcade Land, if you're not familiar with it, this is something that I bought and sold for upwards of almost 2 ETH. Okay. Now the XL land size is now going for 0.02. So from almost 2 ETH down to 0.02. This was a metaverse play. The virtual world that brings Web3 together. 2,000 ETH volume. I messaged these guys and I was like, hey, do you want to come on and do an interview? There was a lot of hype around them. Their response, we're busy. Honestly, sometimes I'm just like, man, like I should just message all these collections just to see how they respond. And if it seems a little bit suspicious, maybe we're just going to try to highlight that. Because I'm like, are you really that busy that you're not wanting to bring extra attention to your thing? And again, I have a small following at the time. You're like, okay, you want to do a video with me? It's like, it's going to be like 100 views, right? Like I get it. But just the response of we're busy, I'm like, it seems, I'm a little bit suspicious. Yo, Zenina, how are you? Did I miss LL yet? So we talked about it a little bit earlier, but if we're wanting to go back, I can, if you remind me right at the end of this, because we talked about goats and just the Green Genie rug of the 5 mil. But I'm happy to go more in depth here in a little bit. We don't need to, okay? That's incredible. So, TLDR again with this is that Arcade Land was saying, hey, we're partnered with all these collections. You can bring your avatars within this. The avatars ended up being like singular things, right? So if you were a Cyber Kong, you only had like the option of like the one Cyber Kong. It wasn't any one of those, but it had like a workable game. It looked really, really good. All the demand in the world. I can actually see what they're. Whoa, hold on. Let me go back for a second there. I probably shouldn't show that. And it's just, dude, I don't get it. I don't need the PTSD if we pass. No, you're good. You're good. So again, just the concept with this is like they were supposed to do all these games and then just nothing happened with it. Nothing happened with it. So we'll see at a point if that ends up coming back, but I don't know. So VFriends Series 2, we funded this a little bit yesterday, but I ended up getting the mint for this, sold it for 0.93. These things are down to 0.1. So again, that's a huge decline for that. I don't really get what the point of these characters are. Same with the VFriends ones. I think they're cool. Like again, for the cards and stuff, like I got a box there. I really like the cards, how they look. The design, it just feels that there's always seemed to be like an adequate opportunity there for anybody that wants something more out of these than just having kind of like a funky collectible in that regard. And maybe that's something that like it changes over time, but we will see. So the next one here, it goes back to the tokens that exist. And so this is wolves. And there was people that were calling this alpha. There was people that were hyping this collection to the nines, saying there's all these great things a part of it. When we go back here, I ended up buying this for 0.32, selling it for 0.1. I think this was like one of the only ones that I ended up keeping for a little bit, trying to earn. And it was just updated collections. But the thing that was interesting with this one, if I remember correctly, because it went upwards of 3,000 ETH volume, is that they had these evolutions. So the concept with this is that you have these wolves, and then, you had. Is it the pups or the wolves? There was like enough points that if you ended up getting them, you were able to breed. But then also, if you had enough tokens for like earning, you were able to get one of these alpha wolves. And so one of the alpha wolves were something that required like a lot of points. So there was like the secondary market that started for those tokens because people were rushing because there was only 100 of those wolves, but then there was like actually nothing for it except for the fact that it was exclusive. And if this collection did well, then you are a part of that, and yada, 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 yada. Checking out their page here. Are they still posting anything? No, they've pretty much deleted everything. Oh, they've merged with Space Belcio. I mean, apparently they're still posting things, but I mean, collection's gotten absolutely zero volume for anything, so I guess that is just a donezo. Okay, Acrocalypse. This was a collection that is, I guess, moving to a new contract, but there was a lot of hype about these. These were like animated crocodiles or pixel art crocodiles, 10,000 ETH. Going for that one. Migrating on the site. We'll click it quick and try to see if we can get some insights. They were doing another token. So this, you can see like a trend here where the narrative, right? And this is why I'm doing this, because we're going to have these different narratives. And unless you're like fully aware of what's going on, you're going to end up having FOMO for stuff that might not be sustainable. So these guys were doing a drop called, that was called like paper token, if I believe. So there we go. Acrocalypse was an NFT collectible featuring 10,420 space racing crocs turned warrior. Assemble your crocs by owning its NFT to the Ethereum blockchain. Doing so will grant you a spot in the galaxy's first line of defense. 10K NFTs officially sold out. Acrocalypse is our most ambitious mission yet, the beginning of a next generation ecosystem for a community of galactic crocs. Our goal is to continue to rapidly build the premier platforms, apps, and marketplaces needed for Paper Token to take over. We are a community-driven collection of 10K quality-focused pixel art powered by unrivaled digital utility. Okay. I mean, if we go to Roadmap 2 here, Partner Project Whitelist. Paper Marketplace. Okay. blockchain play to earn game, paper casino mini games, portfolio management 2.0, NFT project activity feed. And so there was some cool things that Acrocalypse was doing in terms of like tools for like reading your wallets. And, you know, if you go to like certain apps, they have like all the insights. That's kind of cool, but I haven't really seen much about this over my timeline. If we go to the marketplace here, can we see there's an auction? What is the bid here? And I guess like everything's done in paper. So I mean, I'm not going to go into that super deeply, but still, that was something that had a lot of hype and I feel like hasn't been on the timeline too often. Okay, Cyber Brokers. This one was mental. This came out, went crazy. All the whales were buying the one-of-one pieces. This is by Josie. And again, 40,000 ETH volume. These are all on-chain as well. This one's not necessarily one that's not doing anything anymore, but just in terms of the crazy hype that it had on the initial launch, was unmatched. Because if we go to highest last sale here, again, these one-of-ones, we have this rat, this character, this ape. We have upwards of 150 Ethereum for these. And some of them pretty similar, besides like a different background. There's a cat on there spending 60 ETH. Kind of crazy. But again, the idea was that I think they were building out a game or something, and I don't know if that's happened or if it's more of like an on-chain type game, but there we go. Okay, Atom Bomb Squad. If you are not familiar, Atom Bomb Squad is a NFT collection from the Hundreds, and the Hundreds is a big clothing line, just like 100 Thieves, but a little bit different. They've had collabs with Pokemon, just similar to what 100 Thieves was yesterday. And these NFTs are like super cheap now, but they gave an opportunity for people to have like that logo, and they basically said you are able to use the IP however way you want within that. Most people didn't end up doing that, but as we can see, some of the the original number one here went for 35 ETH. Some of these other ones with a wink and a cackle, the Louis Vuitton in the back. They did have some really, really cool collabs. I do have to give it to them. I mean, this was one of the more artistic collections, if you will. And I don't know why people were paying such a large amount of them. Like, I think I sold one of these things for like 4 ETH. But 23,000 volume, come down a little bit, but still doesn't really end up getting talked about anymore. Almost got one of those before it went over 1 ETH. Well. Almost. Okay, good deeds with NFT. Do you remember this collection? You probably don't, but it looks familiar. And apparently this is a part of the Imaginary Ones collaboration with Dev & Co. I don't know if that's exactly the artist for that, but a side project by the WGMI team and its community with the sole purpose of doing good deeds with the funds generated from NFT sales and royalties of this collection. So I don't know at what point this happened, but there was this narrative that was created that these were going to get some kind of an airdrop. When you read that description, obviously it's just like okay, here is a side collectible piece that's all the same out of 400. If you guys buy it, we're gonna either donate to charity, get tax breaks, whatever. But when Imaginary Ones was really kind of popping off, a lot of people thought, okay, well, this is going to get something. So, of course, the price ends up going up. I don't think it was like insane by any means, but we saw, number of sales. Geez, these are really down here. But yeah, like about 0.24, 0.153 after the launch, it did moon. And this was like where the narrative was created. And then when people are like, oh, okay, that might be a lie. Oh, okay, that might be okay. It's for that's not happening. You know what I mean? Once you know the backstory, you can kind of follow the chart and see what happens with that. Okay. If you guys like this video, please give a like. We've been going over all the memories here, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. So Atari, they launched this NFT that's of their 50th anniversary commemorative collection. Okay, if we're going back to this, I ended up buying it for 0.1. So I bought it for 0.2, immediately sold it because I was like, this seems sus. And then, yeah, it basically went to 0. People thought this was going to be something. Important. Expand for full details of the collection. Atari 50th Anniversary Commemorative GFT Collection. In celebration of Atari's 50th anniversary, we join forces to bring you a one-of-a-kind collection honoring the legendary gaming brand that started it all. Note, to redeem every Realm X Atari Collective Pass, you must redeem 4 non-redeemed Atari GFTs. So I don't remember if this was a thing at the time. I think what happened was these went upwards of like 0.5, maybe not that high. As I mentioned that we sold it around 0.2. I feel like maybe hover there, but maybe up to 0.3. But then people were like, okay, like I'm not going to buy another 4 of these to get this additional pass. And so if we click over here, what was that supposed to get you? They're highlighting this thing, the mystery. Listen, everybody's wondering what the goodies were going to be. Access to every realm's upcoming gaming initiatives, exclusive on Cyber Game Den NFTs, participation in Atari X activations, and private AMAs with leaders in the Web3 and gaming space. Okay, so if we go here, these are at 0.01 with 21 ETH volume. So I don't think these went the way that they anticipated, but again, this shows, and when I highlight things that's going on with Futureverse and Readyverse and these big IPs, it's, you know, it's the notion that we've had all these major brands come into the blockchain space and completely fumble the bag because there's not many places to go. Okay, if we have activations, you're going to get that. You're going to have AMAs with leaders in Web3. You guys don't care about that. Like, I mean, I would care about that for being able to provide extra context or potentially being able to do interviews. But okay, you talk to a founder of a collection that's like a leader in Web3. Are you going to get anything out of that? I mean, maybe, but probably not. Is that like the key exclusive utility of a thing that's for Atari? You think Atari could do better? You know what I mean? Because they do have a token. They have all these things. They're supposed to do stuff with Zrun, yada, 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 yada. But back to my point. There needs to be a way for these these Web 2 brands that are conglomerate giants to be able to succeed within the blockchain space, and that's why I'm so bullish on what Futureverse is doing. So again, these things, they're pretty much not worth anything right now. They have these games that are played on there, but you can buy them for $7.24 currently. Do you know the founder of Twitch? Used to be like Justin TV. So I got hit up one day. That doesn't happen too often, but somebody's like, hey, yo, you do the NFT space, and I'm connected with the founder of Twitch. As I have Twitch partner in my X bio, I'm like, holy shit, we're gonna moon. So Duskbreakers is a collection that the founder of Twitch created, and that was the narrative kind of surrounding it. So being a Duskbreaker means joining a select squad of 10,000 recruits who spend their days exploring a mysterious alien spaceship filled with friends, foes, and otherworldly technology. You'll be part of a community that directly influences the development of upcoming interactive media and gaming experiences within the Duskbreaker. So I haven't checked this in a little bit. They did have like an initial activation that you were able to play. It looked okay, not gonna lie. Wasn't too bad. But we do have a couple of people still buying these things. But when we go and check out the site here to show it, Duskbreakers Twilight Second Shift playtesting in progress. And this, I remember the playtesting like happened like forever ago. So this is kind of crazy. So about the Twilight Shift, prepare to be thrust into a mysterious tale of exploration, survival, and discovery in our latest mini-mission, Twilight Shift, set in the exciting world of Duskbreaker from the award-winning storytellers at Meta Theory. 30 years have passed since the Dusk showed up in 2070, a 300-mile-long alien spacecraft when entering yada, yada, yada. Okay, so there's IP. They're building out these things. If you're wanting to check it out, you're able to do so. And for their games, they have the Breaker Recruit, Beast Battler, and Twilight. But I guess you have to like download the launcher, and I'm not going to do that right now. But that's just a collection that, the more you know. The Indifferent Duck. Why do we buy this bullshit, guys? This is like a random collection that came out that you were able to like change the traits to try to make more rare. 4,000 ETH volume. Nobody cares. This kind of looks like the Heads collection, but like not as quality lines per se. Another one of those like attempt at kind of like a Subducks, I guess, variation of doodles. A lot of collections come out that have those kind of like more I guess, strong lines or simple lines, I guess would be the terminology for it, but didn't end up going anywhere. Dopey Duck Leads, another bullshit move here by Schiller. 452 total volume. Whole bunch of people tweeting about this on the timeline. 2,000 ducks. I think I actually flipped one of these things, which is crazy. But another kind of weird attempt at the simple lines. It's a dopey duck lead, and why would you ever buy that? You're an absolute fish. Okay, Swamp First. This had a ton of attention. These things were going for bags, brother. I bought one for 0.29, sold it for 0.26. How quickly? November 29th, December 1st. Man, I am so good at like buying something and be like, okay, I FOMO'd over that. This is not going to work. Sell it immediately. That's, yeah, listen, we're doing okay. Oh, we're doing okay, dude. A lot of people were hyping this up. Big influencers, big everything. They had, I think, these tokens that were like Croak tokens that you were able to earn from just holding these things. If we go back to the highest last sale, upwards of 10 ETH, 6 ETH, 5 ETH, 3 ETH. Again, I think like in terms of like if you're going to try to judge pixel art for whatever reason, really not bad. But looks like the peak here was about 0.6 and then came back down to about 0.3. 2 days ago was last sale. These things are down to $20. But at a point, people were spending thousands on them. People were spending thousands on them. The narrative, the token, man, I love the art. Wrong button. No, you don't, fish. No, you don't. Ray Stinger, what's going on, you absolute brigand? Beauty. All right. The Littles. Holy jeez. Okay, so TLDR on the Littles is another collection that got super hyped up. There was this like influencer type person that was involved with the project, helped sell it out, shilled the shit out of it. Immediately there's a fallout with everybody. Guy leaves the project. Littles apparently is like partnered with some of these other collections. I don't know how they necessarily get the backing from it. 10,000 dreamers, explorers, and mischief makers looking for new friends. Join us in our adventure to seize the memes of production from the serious grown-ups and put the hands in everyone who wants to create cool shins. Play with friends and have a lot of fun. 11,000 total ETH volume. Another kind of pixelated thing. Didn't end up going anywhere. I mean, it is what it is. Oh, this is going to be deep for somebody. Do you remember Galactic Ape? This came out, bought it for 0.32. Absolutely moon. So September 26th to September 27th. Okay, so look at this. Look at this for a second. Within a day, it went from 0.3 to 1.2 in a day. Have you even heard of this collection anymore? Obviously, when that happens, something kind of crazy, but it's announced that these guys are doing a token, all these crazy things, 20,000 ETH in volume, and then the founders end up rugging it. An OG pixel art project, now part of Star Wolves ecosystem. Okay, I have no idea what Star Wolves is, but this collection, for whatever reason, Buffalo, you got to check the VOD. We went over it heavy. Appreciate it that you're here, though, brother. So I don't really know why. I think that these guys, again, said that they were doing a token. This was a part of a bigger ecosystem, all this other kind of crazy shindigs. And it's like, okay, how? So basically, if we hold on, the chart should look absolutely crazy on this. Okay, so yeah, comes out 0.38. Everybody absolutely FOMOs. We have 6,000. What? We have 6,000 sales on that. There we go. Thank God. Let's say if that goes away, we are screwed. Maybe somebody's watching the stream at OpenSea and they're ready to take this down. Damn it. But you could see that insane spike, and then it just completely followed. 6,000 volume in sale. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised because my memory is very foggy on it, but like they might have bailed because the price went up so much, right? Because a lot of teams, they do have an allocation set to the team for giveaways, whatever, and out of a collection of 9,000, let's say they kept 500 of them and they were able to cash out 500 ETH. I mean, some people's morals aren't necessarily there in that regard. So was that the reason that it went? I don't know. Okay. So I don't know if it was prank. I want to say that it was Pranksy. Might have been Dingling. Pretty positive it was Pranksy. Goes on the timeline and starts showing this thing called Crypto Hobos. what the hell is a crypto hobo? So these things are absolutely at zero, but a lot of big accounts start chilling this stuff. We get 2,000 ETH. Trying to look at the activity chart here. You can see, okay, it launches at like 0.3 with 700 sales, and then immediately, listen, kind of like me, you buy it, and then the day after, you're like, why'd I do that, dude? So everybody's like, okay, this, we're getting the hell out. And then you can just see that it's like a whole lot of nothing, like 1 to 2 sales a day. They're still happening. Couple people buying multiples of these, which is a little bit odd. But either way, the first generative NFT collection project to be painted by hand, Crypto Hobos fuses the fine art and profile picture genres of the NFT space. So back to my narrative, right? Here's the narrative for this one. It's the first generative NFT that's painted by hand, which, to be fair, I thought that's what like the Damien Hirst stuff was. I mean, this is September 21. I don't know when the... What is the Hearst called? Oh, I forget what it's called. I can look it up. Not paintings. It's not dots. If anybody knows, let me know, and I'll try to bring that up before we wrap up here. But another one here that was highlighted from Gary V. So I tactically lied a minute ago because I kind of forgot about this. But for some of the V Friends won, they had like these random raffles, or like they selected you. And if there was an NFT collection that was backed by Gary V, and like Vader Media, you were able to mint one of them for like free, or you were able to get an allow list. So the Dapper Dinos, 9,999 randomly generated dinosaurs roaming the Ethereum blockchain. Remember, anytime it says this, run to the hills. Dapper Dinos was founded by the idea of being a family-friendly, kid-lovable, hyper-collectible, and fun-to-look-at collection of dinosaur NFTs. This project was started to give back to our kids, and the mantra of charity and community is woven through the project. So Gary V, currency. Yeah, you're right. You were right. You were a legend. Thank you. And so with these Dapper Dinos, Gary was like, it's a team of dads that are wanting to do something. I think this is going to be really, really cool. I guess they launch another collection here. It's all for the kids. It's whatever. Like, it's cool, right? But again, upwards of 5,000 ETH. Doesn't seem like it's something that's in the spotlight necessarily anymore. Okay, so the Hearst. This came out in July of 2021. Damn. So the crypto hobos beat Damien Hirst. That's crazy. But the Hearst collectibles are way more, 25,000 ETH. This one's not really a part of they're not really doing anything anymore because it's a famous artist that launched these things, and people, it's art. You can't really argue with that. But yeah, currency, kind of crazy. If we look for the highest last sale for something that's just dots here, 51 ETH. Tell me the difference between this one and this one that's worth like another 15 ETH. Listen, I couldn't tell you. This one looks like there's a little bit more dots. That one looks like there's a lot more dots. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, bro. Okay. That's going to be it for this edition of XFeed. Today we didn't even go over the XFeed. But what I want to do is kind of highlight these different things for you that I think are valuable, because again, the reason that I'm wanting to do this is to be able to share my experience so you don't do some of the stupid shit that I do, but also try to keep you entertained in the lulls and the highs of what's going on with Web3. If you do enjoy this video, of course, please give me a like. And if you're able to share it with one friend, some of you might not be doing this right now, but if you can share it with one friend, send them the stream, be like, yo, you might enjoy this. It means a lot to me and helps grow the channel as we're, trying to cover all the goodies here with more and more people. But that's going to be it for me. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow as per usual. Have a good afternoon, day, morning, etc. Auto Hill, what's going on? We still got to talk about Futureverse, but we'll save that for another day.